Hey guys, so today I'm going to be making a chisel sharpening jig. It's going to look a little something like this, and specifically I'm making it to accept the sharpening arm of an Edge Pro. And so this guy will sit in here like this on this block, and you can sharpen your chisel with it and your associated stones. This design is just a rough concept. I'm definitely going to change a little bit of this stuff, but we'll see how the project morphs as things come along. So the gist of it is, this is going to be the rest for the chisel. The chisel will go on here. We'll cut this at an angle, so the chisel will sit on this. And in order to adjust the angle up and down, we're going to have this little block sit square in the middle here, and it will be able to move up and down to the particular angle you want. Most chisels are sharpened to about 30 degrees. So if we cut a 60-degree bevel off of this from vertical, or 30 degrees here, then you're pretty much done. You just set this on the tool rest, set your Edge Pro to perfectly level to the chisel face, and you can go. But the fact is that chisels are not all sharpened to 30 degrees. So I do want to have this be adjustable. So that's what that is. And then it will be retained by, so we'll have spacers here, and then it'll be retained in like this. I'm definitely going to change from the initial design. I initially had this little hole there so you could screw it in to the tool rest. So there would be a screw here, and as you moved it up to your desired angle, you'd tighten the screw into here, and I'd had like a little brass plate here to keep the wood from deforming too much and whatnot. I decided that I didn't want to do that, and maybe it's a bad idea to change that because it's not terrible. But what I think I'm going to do is have a screw that will sit flush underneath here and come up through the bottom. This isn't the screw, it'll be shorter than this. So sit through there. I'll have a little square nut that goes into that, and then this screw will free float in the hole here, and by changing this, by screwing in or out, it'll rotate this up and down. So you can have very minute adjustment from the bottom. I don't know if that's going to be better or not. It's the direction I'm headed now. So the first step is to work on the tool rest. Some of these chisels may be sharpened to about a 40 degree, so I don't want to go all the way down to 30 on this. I think I'm going to cut it to about 20. That'll accommodate those, and then if you want to get up to your 30 degree, you'll just lift it on the, whatever, I don't know what to call this, the angle riser, adjuster, that thing. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set my little protractor thing here for 20 degrees. So if this moves a little bit, then that's fine. I'm not concerned about it. But this is going to be about 20 degrees there. So if you rest your chisel onto this thing as such, you would get a 20-degree bevel here. Move it up, well, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch, and you'll come up to your 30, and so on and so forth. So the next step is going to be to cut this. I'm going to cut the waste off by hand, and then I will use a hand plane to smooth out this section. All right. Not too bad. There's my line. A little bit off of that. So now I'm just going to plane this down flatter. Alright. A little bit more from this side. Alright. Alright. There we go. Alright, so that will create a 20-degree bevel, or a very steep angle or acute angle, depending on how you look at it, on your chisel. But we don't want that. So more to build. So next up is to start securing the tool riser. Maybe that's a good term for it. So first step would be then to decide where center is and drill a nice straight hole straight down through there, and then transfer that hole through this block. I see this as being a 1/16 shy of 3.5. 1.75 minus a 32nd is right there. That looks good. Bring that out just a little bit. And then the width, oops, of this thing will be right there. A more accurate knife wall. That guy comes out to, what is that? It's 3/4. So 3/4, so we need to come in 3/8. 1, 2, 3/8 is right there. Make my line. And that's where our hole needs to go. Let's punch that. Make this nice and accurate here. Looks good. Now we need to drill nice and straight down to whatever will let this guy screw freely, but not actually grab the wood. The shaft is, well, it looks like 3/16. With the threads, let's make sure that doesn't get a little bigger. With the threads, we're looking at just about 1/4. I have to do. We'll take this guy off and we'll screw that hole. So I'll do that off camera. Remove this, drill the hole through, and I'll come back to you. So this is it. This is my square nut. And here is the tool riser. The nut will be recessed into here, and I have to figure out a way to retain it. But then as you screw this thing, the nut moves, and if it's attached to the wood, then the wood will move up and down. So the next step, I've drawn center lines over here, and what I'm going to do is secure this with some clamps and then drill through to probably about maybe 1/8 of an inch shy of the height, something like this. That way this thing won't go all the way through. Alright, so next up I'm going to clamp this. It's going to be a little fiddly to clamp both sides to this edge and then drill through. That looks pretty good. Huh? We'll see how things work out when I screw the tool rest back on. Good. Yeah, all right. That looks good. So next we have to figure out how to secure that nut. All right. So there's my nut and a temporary screw just to hold it in place, just align it with the hole. And so I am going to scribe a little knife wall along the edges. All right. Looks pretty good. That'll, if I go right to those lines, that'll make a pretty tight fit to take out that wood to the edge. Well, I know that's loud, sorry about that. I think that'll probably retain itself. Don't you? I don't know why that would fall out. Certainly not loose. Maybe with time. But then I could just glue it when I'm less impatient. Let's see how she works. Can you still see? Yeah. Oh, it's tight. I just realized though that the fact that these threads are grabbing is a bad thing. So I gotta bore that hole out a little bit. Oop. Alright, you don't need to watch this. I'm going to drill that hole a little bit bigger and then we'll come back. Okay. Went up and drilled that hole and actually got another bit out to recess for the head. So that sits in there nice and free. Now, let's see if it does what we want it to. of thinking the drill's a little tight, and I think that's because of the wood. It's also drilling into the wood, or you know, the threads are grabbing the wood. If it grabbed just the nut, I think it would be nice and smooth. So what I think I'm going to do is risk the retainment and pull that nut out and then bore out the hole so that this will slide free inside that hole. So trying. Oh, it's in there good. Oh, come on. I don't want to deform the walls too much. Here it goes. Oh, I'm going to whack myself in the belly doing this. Oh, there we go. All right. That should be about it. Started feeling resistance there at the end, so hopefully that'll be right. Now, hopefully, this guy will still need to be hammered in. Oh, it presses. That's good. Plug your ears, by the way. Alright, there we go. With the screw recessed in there completely, this has enough travel to come below the tool rest, and then obviously you can extend it above. Up, up, up. I don't know how apparent that is, but that's moving up. But you can see. You tighten it, and it will draw it down. In hindsight, I would really like to, and I may still do this. I don't like that this nut can come through here like that. I think that's a silly thing. I would like it to be fixed right there in this position, and I imagine that I could do that with a nut right here recessed into this spot. So I probably will do that in the future. I just want to make sure this whole thing works as it is. Alright, so this thing is terribly wobbly, so we need to put the retention stuff in here. So that's going to look like this and this. This being in two pieces is a remnant of the original design. I just didn't think it through enough when I was cutting the pieces. So here are those two pieces. That was back when I wanted to have a hole here, so this needed to be open. Now I could just make this out of one piece, obviously. But since I cut them, I'm going to use them. So these two will keep this thing from moving from side to side. That's easy enough. We'll just mark where they go and then screw them in. Once they're screwed in, I'll pop these guys on there and screw them onto the other bit. Right? Super simple. So that's what I'm going to do.
No more guessing, failing, panicking, cursing, or worrying. That's insurance for the modern world. Esurance, backed by Allstate. Click or call.
Available to new or renewal customers with comprehensive and collision coverage. Some exclusions apply. Not available in all states. Allstate products are available through Esurance.
I'm Tom Shane. On the air. This medicine builds the first motion.
We loosen this guy up. That tool rest comes up, and then changes the angle of our chisel. That was good. That's what it needs to do. Alright, so the next step is getting the probably most important part, which is the Edge Pro on here. So let's see. This guy needs to be centered like this. And we sharpen, sharpen, sharpen. So I'm just eyeballing this. Maybe I should mark a little bit of a center line here. So that's about 3.5, 1 3/4, 1 3/4. This is just for a visual reference. So I've got this center line, and then I got that center line. And as I put this guy in here, I can sight down so that it rides both those lines. This isn't super critical by any means. That puts the Edge Pro hole right here. And a very accurate tracing. And then we'll figure out what size of hole we're drilling for it. Looks like 1/4. It's actually just a little bit over. It's like 5/16. Yeah. I'll go ahead and drill a pilot hole, or a test hole rather, just to make sure. Yeah, that's it. 5/16. Alright, so I am going to punch that center, and then I will drill that straight down and come back to you. Well, the hole is drilled, and it's starting to look like a jig. I recognize that it can be a little bit, or will be a little bit interesting, holding the chisel, because I mean, it'd be nice to be able to hold it out here, which certainly you can. I mean, you run the risk of starting to elevate the tip when you lever it down here. But the reason why I made this so short is because I have chisels like this. So these guys, I mean, you can't have a long tool rest. So I kept it short on purpose. We'll see how that works once I actually get a stone in there. That may have to be a design consideration in the future. Alright, so the next step is to put a pin in here that will retain, and just put a little friction on the Edge Pro arm. Alright, let's give her a go. Here is a chisel that's pretty well worn, and here's the Edge Pro with some stones. So this is 20 degrees. So I want to go knock that up a little bit. Because I know that this set of chisels, I got these at a garage sale, and they are about 30 degrees. So let's see what this is. So what my plan is, once I figure out, once I've got all the measurements and this thing is pretty well fixed, I'm going to find out where level is on this, where horizontal is, and then I'll start making marks on this tool riser so that I can just come over here, set this arm to a specific angle, and then put this riser up or down to say, like, I want it to be 30 degrees or 25 or 40 or whatever. So then this will be an easy way to constantly set a specific angle. Right now I'm just using the Edge Pro like an Edge Pro and matching the angle, which, oh, it looks like it'll be somewhere in here. Let's see how this works. I'm hitting only the edge. Well, nope, that's actually pretty good. I'm hitting the edge and the back. This just happens that this thing is a little bit recessed in the middle. So this is a kind of a pain. I just hit my thumb on that, so you got to really be careful where you're holding. And then that chisel did slide down a little bit. There's got to be a good way to support this thing. I don't know what that is just yet. If I was going to commit to this, I think what I would do is drill it to a board and clamp the board down to something like this, and then that board would have a tool rest. Maybe make that adjustable, that tool rest, so that when you have a shorter file, you know, it comes up or something. I don't know. I'm going to work on that. Right now it works. It's just a little bit, I don't know what the right word is. Mobile is what it is, and it's not perfect, for sure. I don't know that I've ever made a perfect prototype though, so. Okay, so all the sharpening is done. The jig worked fantastically well. As far as it works with this chisel, I do still worry a lot about trying to figure out how to accommodate this particular chisel, because I'm going to have to hold it again, and you saw all the different complications that arose from that. So somehow I have to create a tool rest. Let me get you out here. Somehow I have to accommodate or come up with a tool rest that will support the handle. So I don't know how to do that, but I'll figure it out. But so in the meantime, we've got this chisel. Let's see if I can focus in here. It's not perfect, but it is the sharpest chisel that I have ever made. You can see a little bit of reflection in there. I don't know if I can do this or not, but I want to show you just how ridiculously sharp this is. It shaves supremely well. Can you see that? I'm going to end up trying this, taking these shots. I'm going to end up with a lot of bare spots on my arm. But, so, the point is that the jig works and works well for at least most chisels. Most of my chisels are exactly like this. I have some old ones that have different sizes of shaft and handle and whatnot. Those are the ones that are going to be a little bit cumbersome. But as far as these blue handled ones go, I can make this thing consistent for each angle. If I want to file one exactly 30 degrees, I can do that every single time. I'd really like to be able to do any chisel. So that is where I'd like to go in the future, but this is where it is now, and I'm actually particularly happy with it. So I will put the plans up on Dropbox, and I'll put a link in the comments or the description here to where you can download the pictures and the SketchUp plans. But I would love to hear from you as to improvements you think I should make, and how I can try to come up with a tool rest that will accommodate chisels of different sizes. And the difference in size is going to be dramatic. Just take a look at this guy, right? I mean, this thing is super long. So I would like to be able to file these at set angles just as easily as I can do this one. I can't wrap my mind around how to do that just yet, but I'm pretty certain it's possible. I don't know how worth the effort it is. So let me know your thoughts, and show me what you've made and any improvements you've come up with, because I am keen on this device. I think it can go a long ways. Alright, thanks for watching.